In the 1960s, a young psychologist in Chicago became fascinated by a group of artists, painters, sculptors, composers, people who would sit down to work and forget to eat, forget to sleep, forget that other people existed. They would work for 12, 14, 16 hours without pause. And when they finally stopped, they were not exhausted. They were energized. The psychologist's name was Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and the question he asked changed the way we understand human potential. He asked them why they did it. The answer was not money. It was not fame. It was not recognition. It was the experience itself. The act of creating was so absorbing that nothing else mattered. The work was its own reward. Csikszentmihalyi called this state flow, and he spent the next 50 years proving that it is the most powerful mental state a human being can experience. Here is what flow feels like. Time disappears. An hour passes like a minute. Your inner critic goes silent. The voice in your head that second guesses, judges, and worries simply stops talking. You are completely absorbed in what you are doing. Your actions feel effortless. Your focus is absolute, and the experience is deeply, intrinsically satisfying. If you have ever been in the zone, you know exactly what I am describing. But here is what most people do not know. Flow is not something that happens to you randomly. It is not luck. It is not a gift given only to elite athletes and genius artists. It is a biological state, and it can be entered deliberately. The neuroscience of flow is remarkable. When you enter a flow state, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-awareness, self-criticism, and time perception, actually decreases in activity. Neuroscientists call this transient hypofrontality. Your inner critic goes quiet because the part of your brain that produces it is literally powered down. At the same time, your brain releases a cocktail of neurochemicals. Endorphins mask pain. Dopamine increases focus and motivation. Anandamide, named after the Sanskrit word for bliss, expands your thinking and helps you make creative connections. Norepinephrine sharpens your attention. Serotonin deepens your sense of well-being. Your brain is not working harder in flow. It is working differently. It is more efficient, more focused, more alive." Unquote. Csikszentmihalyi's research changed direction after the artists. He wanted to know if flow was limited to creative geniuses or if it was available to everyone. So, he started carrying pagers. Literal beeping devices. He recruited thousands of people from all walks of life. Factory workers, surgeons, rock climbers, chefs, office managers, assembly line workers, and he paged them at random moments throughout the day. When the beeper went off, they had to write down what they were doing and how they felt, rate their concentration, their enjoyment, their level of challenge versus their level of skill. The results changed everything. People reported being happiest not when they were relaxing, not when they were on vacation, not when they were watching television. They reported being happiest when they were in flow. When they were fully absorbed in a challenging task that matched their skills. Factory workers on the assembly line reported more flow moments than executives on vacation. Surgeons reported more flow than people lounging on beaches. The data showed something shocking. Leisure was not making people happy. Absorption was. A factory worker who had mastered their machine and was working at full speed reported higher life satisfaction in that moment than a person sitting on a beach doing nothing. Because the beach was passive. The factory line was active. The factory line required focus, skill, and immediate feedback. The beach required nothing. This was the first scientific proof that the human mind is not designed for pleasure. It is designed for engagement. Now, let me tell you about the surgeons. In one study, researchers followed surgeons performing complex operations. 8-hour procedures where a single mistake could mean death. You would expect these to be the most stressful moments of the surgeon's life. But when the researchers analyzed the surgeon's physiological data, they found something unexpected. During the most critical parts of the surgery, the surgeon's heart rate stabilized, their breathing deepened, their cortisol levels dropped. They were not stressed. They were in flow. When asked to describe the experience, the surgeons used the same language as the painters and the rock climbers. They said time disappeared. They said they were not aware of their own bodies. They said the surgery seemed to happen through them, not by them. One surgeon described it this way: I become the surgery. There is no me and the patient. There is only the work. This is the merging of action and awareness, one of the core components of flow. You stop being aware of yourself as separate from what you are doing. The self dissolves into the activity. There is a famous story about a Japanese calligrapher who was asked how he created his most beautiful work. He said, I do not create it. I just get out of the way. The brush knows what to do. I am just the hand that holds it. This sounds mystical, but it is biology. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of self-awareness, has down-regulated. The self is no longer in the way. The action flows directly from intention to execution without the interference of self-judgment. Here is the method for entering flow. The conditions are precise. Follow them exactly. Condition 1. You must have clear goals, not vague goals. Not, I want to do good work. Specific, immediate goals. I will write this paragraph. I will solve this equation. I will make this cut. The brain needs to know exactly what the target is before it can lock on. Condition 2. You must have immediate feedback. Every action must tell you whether you are succeeding or failing. A surgeon sees the tissue respond. A rock climber feels the hold. A programmer sees the code compile or break. No feedback, no flow. This is why flow is rare in jobs with long feedback loops. The brain cannot stay engaged if it does not know whether it is winning. Condition 3. The challenge must match your skill. This is the most important condition. If the challenge is too high, you become anxious. If the challenge is too low, you become bored. Flow lives in the narrow channel between anxiety and boredom. Think of it as a channel. Too much challenge without enough skill creates anxiety. Your heart races, your mind scrambles, you feel overwhelmed. Too much skill without enough challenge creates boredom. Your mind wanders, you check your phone, you feel understimulated. Flow is the narrow state where challenge and skill are perfectly balanced. High challenge, high skill, both working at full capacity. There is a teaching machine from the 1950s that understood this before the research existed. It was called SAKI, built by a British cybernetician named Gordon Pask. SAKI taught people to type on a keyboard. But it did not use a fixed curriculum. It adapted. If the student made too many mistakes, SAKI slowed down. If the student was too fast and too accurate, SAKI sped up. It constantly adjusted the difficulty to keep the student in the flow channel. Pask wrote about this in his patent application. If the data is given at too slow a rate, the operator becomes bored. If the data is too complicated, the operator becomes discouraged. The machine must always maintain the perfect balance. He was describing flow before flow had a name. Now let me take you inside the brain during flow. The experience is so absorbing that external distractions literally cannot penetrate your awareness. This is not willpower. This is a biological gate closing. Your brain prioritizes the task over everything else. Pain fades. A runner in flow does not feel their burning legs until they stop. Hunger disappears. A programmer in flow does not notice they have not eaten in 8 hours. Time warps. A musician in flow plays for 3 hours and swears it was 20 minutes. This is the transient hypofrontality at work. The brain regions that track time, monitor your body, and check for threats have been deprioritized. the bandwidth is rerouted to the task. Your brain can process about 110 bits of information per second. Most of that is consumed by internal chatter, self-monitoring, environmental scanning, and time tracking. In flow, your brain says, "We do not need any of that right now. We need all 110 bits on the task." And it works. This is why flow feels effortless, even though you are working harder than normal. Normal effort feels hard because your brain is splitting its bandwidth between the task and everything else. Flow feels effortless because your brain is giving the task everything it has. Flow is not about working harder. It is about removing the internal resistance that makes hard work feel hard. Now here is the paradox that trips most people up. The more you try to force flow, the less likely you are to find it. Flow requires surrender. It requires letting go of the need to control the outcome. It requires trusting your training and getting out of your own way. This is why overlearning is so important. Overlearning means practicing a skill until it becomes automatic, until your fingers know what to do before your conscious mind decides. When a skill is overlearned, it does not require conscious attention. You can perform it while your mind is in flow. A concert pianist does not think about which key to press. They think about the music. The fingering is automatic. A rock climber does not think about where to place each hand. Their body knows. They think about the line. Overlearning frees up mental bandwidth for flow. Without it, your conscious mind is too busy with the mechanics to enter the deep state. There is a study of chess grandmasters that illustrates this perfectly. Grandmasters can play simultaneous games against multiple opponents while blindfolded. They do not need to see the board. They hold the entire game state in their memory while calculating dozens of moves ahead. This is not natural talent. This is thousands of hours of overlearning to the point where the mechanics of chess are handled by the subconscious. The conscious mind is free to flow. Here is the 7-day flow challenge. Day 1. Identify one activity that consistently absorbs you, the one where you lose track of time. If you do not have one, choose an activity you want to learn. Day 2. Set a clear goal for your next session. Not a big goal, a specific, immediate goal for the next 30 minutes. Day 3. Remove all distractions. Phone on silent. Notifications off. Door closed. Your brain cannot enter flow if it knows a distraction might arrive. Day 4. Adjust the difficulty. If you are bored, increase the challenge. If you are anxious, reduce it. Find the channel. Day 5. Practice overlearning. Repeat a basic skill of your craft until it feels boring. Then, repeat it more. The goal is automaticity. Day 6. Schedule a flow block. 90 minutes. No breaks. No interruptions. Clear goal. Immediate feedback. Challenge matched to skill. Day 7. Reflect. Did you enter flow? If not, why? Was the challenge wrong? Was the feedback missing? Were you distracted? Each failure is data. Use it. The autotelic personality is the name Csikszentmihalyi gave to people who seek flow naturally. Autotelic comes from the Greek words auto, meaning self, and telos, meaning goal. People with an autotelic personality do things because the doing itself is the reward. But here is what most people miss. The autotelic personality is not something you are born with. It is something you develop. Every time you choose a challenging task over a passive one, every time you push through the discomfort of learning, every time you prioritize absorption over distraction, you are building the autotelic personality. You are training your brain to crave flow instead of crave comfort. And this is the deepest truth about flow. It is not just a performance state. It is the opposite of boredom. It is the opposite of anxiety. It is the opposite of the hollow feeling you get after 3 hours of scrolling through your phone. Flow is what your mind was designed for. Your brain is not a passive receiver of experience. It is an active seeker of challenge. When you give it a worthy challenge, it rewards you with the most satisfying experience a human being can have. You do not need more leisure. You do not need more vacation. You do not need more passive entertainment. You need more flow. The painters knew this. The surgeons know it. The rock climbers know it. The factory worker on the assembly line at full speed, the one who reported more happiness than the executive on vacation, knew it. The secret is not to escape your life. The secret is to engage with it fully. Find the activity that makes time disappear. Set the goal. Get the feedback. Match the challenge to your skill. Get out of your own way. And let the current carry you.